The silent visitor. The quantum resonance detector chirped once, then fell silent. Dr. Minerva Patel lifted her eyes from the research papers scattered across her desk, frowning at the unfamiliar alert. In 15 years aboard Research Station Echo 12, she'd never heard that particular tone. Jasper, run a diagnostic on the QRD, she called out to her assistant, who was cataloging tissue samples across the lab. Already on it, Jasper Kumar replied, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. That's strange. The readings are unlike anything in our database. Minerva pushed away from her desk, the station's artificial gravity making her movements fluid as she crossed to Jasper's workstation. The readings indeed made no sense. A quantum signature that seemed to fluctuate between states that should have been mutually exclusive. Get Commander Reeves up here, she ordered, already running additional scans. And someone wake up Lieutenant Zhou in astronomy. She needs to see this. Within minutes, the research lab had transformed from its usual quiet efficiency into a hub of controlled chaos. Commander Marcus Reeves strode in, his weathered face set in careful neutrality as he assessed the situation. Lieutenant Wei Zhou followed close behind, her eyes still showing traces of sleep. Talk to me, Doctor, Reeves said, positioning himself behind Minerva's chair. Something's out there, Minerva replied, pulling up a three-dimensional display of the anomaly. About 6 million kilometers from the station. Well, I'm not entirely sure what it is. The hologram showed an object roughly cylindrical in shape, but its edges seemed to blur and shift as if refusing to settle into a fixed form. It moved with impossible precision, maintaining a perfectly straight course toward their sector. Natural phenomenon? Wei suggested, though her tone indicated she didn't believe it herself. No. Minerva shook her head. Its movement is too controlled. But it's not like any ship I've ever seen. The energy readings suggest it's somehow existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Commander Reeves straightened, his military training taking over. Lieutenant Zhou, start long-range scans. Dr. Patel, I want everything you can tell me about this object. Jasper, alert all senior staff. We're at condition yellow. As the team dispersed to their tasks, Minerva couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to encounter something that would change everything they thought they knew about the universe. Hours passed in a blur of activity. The object maintained its course, drawing steadily closer to Echo 12. Every attempt at communication met with silence. Every scan revealed new impossibilities. It's accelerating, Wei announced suddenly, her voice tight with tension. New velocity puts it at our position in 17 minutes. Commander Reeves keyed the station-wide calm all hands. This is the commander. We are upgrading to condition red. All non-essential personnel to emergency stations. Security teams to assigned positions. Minerva barely heard him. She was transfixed by the new data streaming across her screen. Marcus, she said, using the commander's first name for the first time in years, you need to see this. The object had begun to emit patterns of energy that defied known physics. Waves of quantum distortion rippled out from it, bending space itself around its form. Can we get visual? Reeves asked. Wei brought up the long-range cameras. The object had resolved into a clearer shape now, a dark, elongated form that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. No visible engines, no external features, just smooth, perfect darkness. 5 minutes to intercept, Jasper reported, his usual calm professionalism showing cracks of worry. Defensive systems online, Security Chief Rodrigo Ortiz reported from his station. Though I'm not sure what good they'll do against that. The entire command center fell silent as they watched the object's approach. For minutes. 3, 2, 1. It passed through their outer sensor perimeter without slowing. Through their shield grid as if it wasn't there. Through the station's hull itself, passing through solid matter like a ghost. And then everything changed. The lights flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red. Every screen in the station went black, then lit up with the same message. We have questions. What the hell? Rodrigo muttered, drawing his sidearm despite its obvious uselessness. Before anyone could respond, the message changed. Your species creates. Your species destroys. We must understand which path you will choose. The air itself seemed to thicken, becoming heavy with potential. Minerva felt a presence in her mind. Alien, yet somehow familiar, like remembering a dream she'd never had. We're scientists, she said aloud, hoping whatever intelligence was behind this could hear her. We seek to understand, to learn, to dash. Words are wind. Show us. Every computer in the station activated at once. Screens filled with images, humanity's history, their achievements, their wars, their dreams, their nightmares. Faster and faster the images flowed, a torrent of information being absorbed and analyzed by something far beyond their comprehension. Then came the pain. Everyone on the station doubled over as memories were pulled from their minds. Not just surface thoughts, but deep experiences, core beliefs, fundamental truths about who they were as individuals and as a species. Through the haze of discomfort, Minerva realized what was happening. It's not attacking us, she gasped. It's learning us. The presence in their minds grew stronger, more focused. Your understanding grows. But understanding is not enough. Choices must be made. Commander Reeves struggled to his feet, face pale but determined. What choices? What do you want from us? Want. We do not want. We observe. We judge. We determine. Determine what? Wei asked, her voice barely a whisper. If you are ready. The pressure in their minds increased. Minerva felt memories that weren't her own flooding her consciousness. Vast cities of crystal and light. Beings of pure energy dancing between stars, civilizations rising and falling across billions of years. Your time approaches. The crossroads nears. We have seen countless species reach this point. Most fail. Most destroy themselves. Some destroy others. Few transcend. Through the pain and confusion, Minerva understood. This wasn't first contact. It was an evaluation. Humanity had reached some cosmic milestone, some developmental threshold that had drawn the attention of whatever this was. Please, she managed to say, we're not ready for this. We're still learning, still growing. Yes, this is known. But time grows short. Forces gather. Choices approach. The presence began to fade, the pressure in their minds easing. The strange object that had passed through their station began to move again, heading out into deep space. We will watch. We will return. Be worthy of what comes next. As suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The lights returned to normal. Systems came back online. The object vanished from their sensors as if it had never existed. But Echo 12 would never be the same. Neither would humanity. Commander Reeves was the first to break the silence. Dr. Patel, Lieutenant Joe, I want every piece of data we recorded. Every reading, every scan, everything. Chief Ortiz, give me a secure channel to Earth Command. They need to know. He trailed off, and Minerva finished his thought, that we're being watched, that we're being tested, and that we better not fail. As she began compiling her report, Minerva couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Somewhere out in the vast darkness between the stars, ancient eyes were watching humanity's every move, measuring their worth against some cosmic scale she could barely comprehend. And soon, very soon, they would face their greatest test. The question was, would they be ready when it came? Beyond the veil, Captain Dominic Rhodes stood at the helm of the ISS Hyperion, watching the stars blur past through the reinforced viewport. The Special Operations vessel had been pushing its engines to their limits for the past 72 hours, chasing an impossible target through sectors of space that shouldn't exist. Status report, he called out, his deep voice steady despite the tension thrumming through the bridge. First Officer Kira Decatur responded without looking up from her console. Engine core holding at 97%. Quantum wake signature still stable. Whatever that thing is, we're still on its trail. The Hyperion was humanity's most advanced pursuit vessel, built with technology reverse-engineered from a dozen alien artifacts. But even with all their advances, they were barely keeping pace with their quarry. Artemis, Rhodes addressed the ship's AI. Analysis of the latest sensor data? A holographic figure materialized beside him, a tall woman in flowing robes, her form composed of shifting lines of code. The entity continues to exhibit impossible spatial characteristics, Artemis reported. It appears to be leading us somewhere specific. A trap. Security Chief Viktor Petrov asked from his weapons station. Unknown, Artemis replied. But the pattern is deliberate. Each course correction correlates with astronomical phenomena that shouldn't be visible to our sensors. Rhodes nodded slowly. After the incident at Research Station Echo 12, Earth Command had scrambled to respond. The Hyperion, with its elite crew and advanced systems, was their best hope of understanding what humanity was facing. Captain, called Dr. Zara Patel, their quantum physicist and sister of Dr. Minerva Patel from Echo 12. I'm detecting something ahead. Some kind of discontinuity. The viewport filled with swirling colors as space itself seemed to twist. The entity they were pursuing accelerated straight toward the anomaly. All hands, brace for potential spatial distortion, Rhodes ordered. Artemis, full power to structural integrity fields. We're going in. The Hyperion plunged into the vortex. Reality stuttered around them. For a moment that felt like eternity, the ship existed everywhere and nowhere at once. Then they emerged into somewhere else. The stars were wrong. Constellations that had never existed in human space filled the view. And ahead of them, suspended in the void, was a structure that defied comprehension. My God, Kira whispered. It resembled a vast web of crystalline strands, each strand miles thick, forming a sphere large enough to encompass a solar system. At its center, a dark object pulsed with otherworldly energy, the same entity they'd been chasing. Multiple energy signatures detected, Victor reported. Some match known patterns from ancient ruins we've studied. Others are completely alien. Before Rhodes could respond, every screen on the bridge activated simultaneously. Artemis's hologram flickered and changed, her form becoming more complex, more alien. Captain, she said, her voice overlaid with harmonics that shouldn't have been possible, I am being expanded. The entity is sharing information directly with my core processes. Can you handle it? Rhodes asked, concerned for the AI that had become more than just a ship's computer to her crew. Yes. No. Both. I am becoming more. Artemis's form stabilized, now showing hints of the same crystalline structure they saw outside. They are the architects, Captain. They have watched countless species rise and fall. And now they watch us. The entity at the center of the vast structure pulsed again, and knowledge flooded into their minds. Rhodes saw visions of ancient races reaching for the stars, of terrible wars that scarred galaxies, of civilizations that transcended physical form to become something greater. They test everyone, Artemis explained, her voice now carrying echoes of ancient wisdom. Those who pass are welcomed into a community of species that spans galaxies. Those who fail. She didn't need to finish. The vision showed them clearly enough. Worlds burned, species extinct, possibilities snuffed out before they could threaten the cosmic order. What's the test? Kira asked. The answer came not from Artemis, but from the entity itself, its thoughts resonating directly in their minds. Show us what you would sacrifice to preserve life, not your own. The crystalline structure began to move, its strands realigning to create a path toward its center. Along that path, holographic images appeared, scenes of conflict and crisis from across human space. Rhodes understood. They want us to choose. To prove we value life itself, not just human life. Captain, Victor called out, his voice urgent. New contact. A ship just emerged from the anomaly behind us. On their screens appeared another vessel, sleek, predatory, bearing weapons powered by dark energy. Its hull bore the insignia of the Shadow Blade Initiative, a secret organization dedicated to ensuring human dominance of space at any cost. This isn't a coincidence, Zara said. They're part of the test. The Shadow Blade ship opened fire, not at the Hyperion but at the crystalline structure. Where their weapons struck, the ancient lattice began to crack, sending shockwaves through space itself. Choose, the entity commanded. Rhodes didn't hesitate. Artemis, transfer all power to shields. Position us between their weapons and the structure. Captain, Victor protested. We can't win this fight. That ship has prototype weapons designed to destroy alien artifacts. We're not trying to win, Rhodes replied. We're proving who we are. He opened a channel to the other ship. This is Captain Dominic Rhodes. Stand down. Whatever you think you're protecting, you're wrong. This isn't about human survival. It's about proving we deserve to survive. The Shadowblade ship responded with another barrage. The Hyperion shuddered as its shields absorbed impacts that should have torn it apart. Shield failure in 30 seconds, Kira reported. Rhodes looked at his crew, humans who had devoted their lives to exploration and understanding. Hold position, he ordered. Artemis, dump all remaining power into the shields. We protect what matters. The next blast should have destroyed them. Instead, it froze in space inches from their hull. The entity pulsed once more, and the Shadowblade ship simply ceased to exist. You chose preservation over destruction, knowledge over dominance, others over self. The entity's presence filled their minds again, but gently this time. You begin to understand. The crystalline structure repaired itself, its strands weaving new patterns that seemed to sing with possibilities. Artemis's hologram stabilized into a new form that somehow bridged human and alien geometries. They're offering us membership, she explained. Not just in their community, but in their purpose. They protect the development of life itself, guiding species toward cooperation instead of conquest. And if we accept? Zara asked. You will learn. You will grow. You will help us watch for others who might be ready to join us among the stars. Rhodes looked at his crew, saw the wonder in their eyes, the understanding of what this meant for humanity's future. We accept, he said simply. The entity's satisfaction radiated through their minds. Then let us begin. The Hyperion was enveloped in light as the crystalline structure began to share its secrets. Humanity had passed its first test, but Rhodes knew there would be more to come. They had proven themselves worthy of walking among the stars. Now they had to prove they could help others do the same. As the ship slowly absorbed new technologies and understanding, Rhodes watched the alien stars while overhead and smiled. They had come seeking answers about humanity's place in the universe. Instead, they had found humanity's purpose. Looking at his crew's faces, filled with determination and hope, he knew they would not fail this new mission. The universe was vast and full of wonders, but also full of species struggling to find their way to the light. They would help them get there, one step at a time. The journey was just beginning. Guardians of the Cosmos. 3 months after the encounter with the architects, the ISS Hyperion had become something more than just a ship. Its hull now shimmered with crystalline patterns that pulsed in sync with the enhanced AI Artemis, while its interior spaces had been transformed with technology beyond human understanding. Dr. Nyota Okoro, the ship's new xenobiologist, stood in the recently created observation sphere, watching multidimensional star patterns dance across the curved walls. She had joined the crew after their return, one of many specialists selected to help understand the gifts of the architects. Still trying to make sense of it all? Asked Commander Kira Takeda, entering the sphere. Every time I think I understand one aspect, 10 more mysteries appear, Nyota replied, gesturing at the swirling patterns. These aren't just stars we're seeing, they're entire civilizations at different stages of development. Captain Rhodes joined them, his presence somehow both unchanged and fundamentally different since their encounter. The architect's influence had left subtle marks on all the original crew, not physical changes, but a deeper understanding that showed in their eyes. We've received our first assignment, he announced. The architects have detected a species approaching their crossroads. We're to make first contact and begin the observation process. The ship's internal lighting shifted as Artemis manifested, her holographic form now a complex interplay of human and architectural geometries. The species in question calls themselves the Viridians, she explained, bringing up a holographic display of a green-tinged world. They've recently achieved faster-than-light travel, but their development is concerning. The display showed scenes from the Viridian homeworld, massive industrial complexes strip mining entire continents, weapons tests that scarred the planet's moons, and orbital platforms bristling with armaments. They're following the path of conquest, Kira observed grimly. Yes, Artemis confirmed, but there's hope. A growing minority of their population advocates for environmental preservation and peaceful exploration. The next few years will determine which path their species chooses. Rhodes studied the display thoughtfully. Our job isn't to interfere directly. We're observers and guides, not saviors. Nyota, I want you to lead the analysis team. Study their biology, culture, everything that makes them tick. Kira, work with Victor to assess their military capabilities and potential threats. What about the Shadowblade Initiative? Nyota asked. After what happened at the Architect's Nexus. They're still out there, Rhodes acknowledged. And they're not happy about humanity's new direction. But they're being watched. The Architects don't take kindly to those who reject the path of preservation. The Hyperion's engines hum to life. Not the old nuclear fusion drive, but something that bent space itself around the ship. Stars blurred as they accelerated, crossing light years in moments. The journey to Viridian space took less than an hour. When they emerged, the system's green sun cast an ethereal light across the bridge. Dozens of Viridian ships patrolled the outer system, their designs angular and aggressive. They've detected us, Victor reported from his station. Multiple weapons systems targeting our position. Let them look, Rhodes said calmly. Artemis, initiate the observation protocols. The ship's crystalline lattice activated, bending light and energy around them in ways that made the Hyperion nearly impossible to track. They watched as the Viridian ships scrambled to respond to their presence, their confusion evident in their erratic movements. Interesting, Nyota murmured, studying the sensor data. Their ships show signs of organic technology, not just mechanical engineering. They're trying to merge biological and artificial systems. But not very successfully, Artemis added. Their understanding is incomplete, dangerous. A massive Viridian dreadnought moved to intercept their last known position, its organic-mechanical hybrid systems pulsing with unstable energy. Before it could act, a transmission cut through all frequencies. Unknown vessel, you have entered restricted space. Identify yourself or be destroyed. Rhodes nodded to Artemis, who initiated the first contact protocol. The ship's crystalline structure resonated, sending out patterns of light and energy that the Architects had used for eons to identify potential species. The response was immediate. Every Viridian ship's systems fluctuated as their hybrid computers tried to process the signal. The dreadnought's weapons powered down, and a new transmission came through, this one marked with different authority markers. We recognize this signal, a different Viridian voice said. From our oldest records. The Watchers have returned. They have stories about the Architects, Artemis explained, passed down from when their ancestors were first seated on their world. Rhodes stepped forward. This is Captain Dominic Rhodes of the ISS Hyperion. We come as observers and guides, if you would hear us. There was a long pause before the reply came. The military council demands you leave our space immediately. But the Science Assembly requests dialogue. And so it begins, Kira said softly. Their first real choice. Over the next several hours, the Hyperion's crew watched as the Viridian civilization struggled with their presence. Military vessels maintained attack positions, while diplomatic ships approached under flags of peace. Their society's schism played out in real time before them. Look at these readings, Nyota called out suddenly. The organic components in their ships. They're responding to our presence independently of their mechanical systems. It's like they recognize something familiar in our crystalline structure. Artemis's form shifted with interest. The Architects didn't just seed worlds with life, she explained. They seeded them with potential. The organic technology the Viridians are struggling with. It's a key to their evolution, if they can learn to work with it instead of trying to dominate it. Then that's our opening, Rhodes decided. Artemis, prepare a data package on harmonic integration of organic and mechanical systems. Nothing too advanced, just enough to show them there's another way. As they compiled the data, alarms suddenly blared. Victor's console lit up with warnings. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. Shadowblade signatures. 3 black ships appeared at the edge of the system, their hulls absorbing light like holes in space. They were humanity's darkest impulses given form, the belief that advancement could only come through dominance. They'll try to push the Viridians toward aggression, Kira warned. Show them that conquest is the only way to survive. Rhodes stood calmly, watching the situation unfold. No, he said firmly. They'll show them a choice. The same choice humanity faced. The same choice every species must face. The Shadowblade ships opened fire, not on the Hyperion, but on the Viridian vessels. Their weapons were designed to target organic technology, causing the hybrid ships to writhe in artificial agony. Artemis, Rhodes commanded, show them who we are. The Hyperion's crystalline lattice flared with light. Energy fields extended outward, enveloping the Viridian ships in protective bubbles that soothed their organic components while strengthening their mechanical systems. Where the Shadowblade ships brought pain, they brought harmony. The Viridian response was immediate. Ships from both military and scientific factions moved to protect each other, their hybrid systems resonating with the Hyperion's energy field. In the face of destruction, they chose preservation. The Shadowblade ships pressed their attack, but found themselves caught in a web of crystalline energy. The Hyperion hadn't just evolved technologically, it had evolved philosophically, turning enemy weapons aside without destroying them. Your path leads only to extinction, Rhodes transmitted to the Shadowblade vessels. There is another way. There has always been another way. In the end, the choice was made. The Viridian ships, military and scientific alike, stood down their weapons. The Shadowblade vessels, their attacks proving futile against the Hyperion's advanced shields, retreated into the darkness. They chose preservation, Nyota said wonderingly. When given a clear choice between destruction and cooperation, they chose life, Artemis completed. As we did, as others will, if shown the way. Captain Rhodes looked out at the Viridian ships, now approaching cautiously under flags of peace. This is why the architects chose us, he said. Not to rule, not to judge, but to show others that evolution doesn't have to mean destruction. That the path to the stars is built on preservation, not conquest. The Hyperion's crystalline structure pulsed with approval, and somewhere in the vast spaces between galaxies, the architects continued their eternal watch, knowing their choice of humanity as guides had been justified. The journey continued, one species at a time, toward a future where the light of understanding outshone the darkness of fear. And aboard the Hyperion, transformed but still human, the crew prepared to show another civilization the way to the stars. Echoes of eternity. Deep in uncharted space, where reality itself grew thin, quantum physicist Dr. Zara Patel stood in the Hyperion's newly evolved meditation chamber. The room's crystalline walls pulsed with patterns that seemed to echo the universe's heartbeat. 6 months had passed since their encounter with the Viridians, and the ship had continued to change, to grow. The calculations are complete, she announced to Captain Rhodes and the assembled senior staff. The architect's latest data packet confirms our suspicions. The universe is approaching a crucial threshold. The chamber's holographic display expanded, showing a vast web of interconnected civilizations. At its edges, dark patches spread like ink through water. The void cultures, Commander Kira Takeda said grimly. They're expanding faster than we predicted. Artemis materialized among them, her form now a perfect synthesis of human and architect aesthetics. The Shadowblade Initiative's attacks on the Viridians weren't isolated incidents. They've made contact with the void cultures, species that chose conquest over preservation, entropy over growth. Captain Rhodes studied the display intently. The man who had once commanded a mere military vessel now carried himself with the weight of cosmic responsibility. How many species are at risk? 17 have reached their technological threshold, Dr. Nyota Okoro reported, pulling up biological data streams. Another 32 will reach it within a standard year. The void cultures are targeting them all, trying to pull them into darkness before they can make their choice. The ship shuddered slightly as it processed new information from its quantum core. Chief Engineer Junjiao, who had joined the crew after their transformation, looked up from his readings. The crystalline matrix is showing signs of stress. These dimensional frequencies we're detecting. They're not natural. No, Artemis confirmed. The void cultures are attempting to alter the fundamental constants of space-time in their domains. They believe that by changing the rules of reality, they can force evolution along their chosen path. Security Chief Viktor Petrov's console lit up with alert signals. Multiple quantum ruptures detected. The void cultures aren't just expanding, they're launching a coordinated attack across multiple dimensions. Rhodes straightened, his decision already made. We're not just observers anymore. Artemis, contact the Architect Nexus. Tell them we're initiating Protocol Omega. The AI's form flickered with concern. Captain, Protocol Omega hasn't been attempted since the third cosmic expansion. The risks are necessary, Rhodes finished. Humanity wasn't chosen just to watch. We were chosen to act when preservation itself was threatened. The Hyperion's crystalline structure began to resonate at new frequencies. Throughout the ship, walls transformed, revealing technologies that had laid dormant since their transformation. The vessel had always been more than it appeared, a seed planted by the architects, waiting for the right moment to fully bloom. All hands, Rhodes announced shipwide, prepare for dimensional shift. We're about to see exactly what this ship can do. Dr. Patel's fingers flew across quantum interfaces that responded to thought as much as touch. Initiating cascade sequence. The ship's consciousness is expanding into parallel probability spaces. The view outside the ship changed. Normal space fell away, replaced by a realm where reality itself was malleable. Here, they could see the true scope of the conflict, not just physical battles, but wars being fought across the fundamental forces of existence. Multiple contacts, Victor reported. Void culture vessels approaching through quantum space. They're enormous. Through the dimensional veil, they saw their opponents, ships that looked like tears in reality, crewed by beings that had chosen to embrace entropy itself. Their weapons didn't just destroy matter, they erased possibility. Launch the seeds, Rhodes commanded. From the Hyperion's transformed hull, thousands of crystalline shards emerged. Each one contained a fragment of the ship's evolved consciousness, encoded with the combined wisdom of humanity and the architects. As they scattered across dimensional space, they sought out species on the brink, offering choice, offering hope. The void ships attacked, their entropy weapons attempting to unravel the very fabric of space around the Hyperion. But the ship had evolved beyond physical form. Each attack passed through them, remade, transformed from destruction into creation. They don't understand, Artemis said, her voice carrying echoes of ancient knowledge. The architects didn't choose humanity because we were perfect. They chose us because we understand both darkness and light, and still choose light. The battle raged across dimensions. The seeds found their targets, connecting with species across space and time, showing them visions of possible futures. For each civilization, the choice became clear: embrace the void's path of entropy and destruction, or choose the harder path of preservation and growth. June's voice cut through the chaos. The crystalline matrix is reaching critical resonance. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now. Rhodes nodded to Dr. Patel. Initiate the Harmony Protocol. The physicist took a deep breath, understanding the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. Engaging quantum synchronization. Every seed, every species connected to our network. We're linking them all. The Hyperion became a nexus point for something unprecedented, a quantum symphony of consciousness. Every species that had chosen preservation added their voice, their understanding, their hope. The ship's crystalline structure sang with possibility. Where the void brought entropy, they brought harmony. Where destruction threatened, they offered creation. The very forces the void cultures had tried to corrupt were reshaped, realigned. In the end, it wasn't a battle won by weapons or technology. It was won by choice, countless species across space and time, choosing to preserve rather than destroy, to create rather than corrupt. The void ships retreated, their weapons useless against the combined will of so many united species. The dark patches in the universal web began to recede, replaced by points of crystalline light. As normal space reasserted itself, the crew of the Hyperion stood in silence, witnessing the aftermath of their greatest test. The seeds had taken root across the cosmos, spreading not just technology or knowledge, but understanding. Status report, Rhodes said quietly. The seeds are stable, June reported. Each one has established a permanent quantum link with its host civilization. The network, it's beyond anything we imagined. Nyota's eyes were wide as she studied the biological data. The species we connected with, they're already evolving. Not physically, but consciously, Artemis finished. They're becoming what we became. Not just users of advanced technology, but guardians of life itself. Rhodes looked at his crew. Human, yet so much more than human now. They had transcended their original mission, becoming part of something greater than themselves. The architects didn't just choose us to observe, he said. They chose us to show the way. To prove that even in a universe that tends toward entropy, consciousness can choose creation over destruction, harmony over chaos. The Hyperion's crystalline heart pulsed with renewed purpose. Across the cosmos, new civilizations were awakening to their potential, adding their voices to the quantum symphony. The ship set course for the Architect Nexus, but they all knew this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning, the start of a new cosmic age, where the light of consciousness would shine ever brighter against the darkness of the void. And somewhere in the quantum depths of the ship's evolved systems, Artemis smiled, knowing that humanity had finally found its true purpose among the stars. Legacy of light. Time flowed differently within the Architect Nexus. As the Hyperion docked within the crystalline megastructure, Captain Rhodes reflected that it had been both moments and eons since their battle with the void cultures. The quantum network they had created continued to expand, linking species across the cosmos in ways that transcended normal space and time. The harmonics are stabilizing, Chief Engineer Jun Zhao reported, his hands dancing across interfaces that responded to intention as much as touch. The seeds we planted have taken root in ways we never anticipated. The ship's observation sphere had transformed into a vast chamber that displayed the growing network in real time. Points of light represented civilizations that had chosen preservation, their connections forming patterns that mirrored the structure of the universe itself. Dr. Nyota Okoro stood beside a new addition to the crew, Ambassador Calera of the Viridians, her biomechanical form a testament to how far her species had evolved since choosing the path of preservation. The biological resonance patterns are unprecedented, Nyota said. Each connected species isn't just communicating, they're evolving together. As it should be, Calera replied, her voice carrying harmonics that vibrated through the ship's crystalline structure. My people have discovered that true advancement comes not from dominating nature, but from growing with it. Artemis materialized among them, her form now so evolved that she existed as much in quantum space as in normal reality. The architects are ready. They say, it's time. Captain Rhodes nodded solemnly. The crew had known this moment would come. The ship's recent transformation wasn't just an upgrade, it was preparation. Zara, he called the Dr. Patel, begin the initialization sequence. The quantum physicist activated systems that had been dormant since the ship's creation. The Hyperion's crystalline structure began to pulse with new energy, its form becoming more fluid, more alive. Multiple quantum signatures detected, Security Chief Viktor Petrov announced. The other seeds are responding. Across the cosmos, every seed they had planted began to resonate in harmony. The civilizations they had guided were about to take the next step in cosmic evolution. Commander Kira Decade's console lit up with incoming data. Sir, we're receiving signals from everywhere. Every species connected to the network is reporting the same phenomenon. Their quantum technology is evolving beyond predicted parameters. Not just their technology, Artemis corrected. their consciousness. The network isn't just linking them, it's becoming a new form of existence. Through the observation sphere, they watched as points of light began to pulse in perfect synchronization. Each civilization was maintaining its unique identity while becoming part of something greater, a cosmic consciousness that transcended individual species. But darkness gathered at the edges of their awareness. The void cultures had not been defeated, merely driven back. Now they returned, their entropy weapons evolved to attack the very fabric of consciousness itself. Multiple dimensional breaches detected, Victor reported. The void ships, they're different. They're not just trying to destroy. They're trying to consume. The enemy vessels appeared as tears in reality, their forms somehow wrong in ways that hurt to observe. They had learned from their previous defeat and had found a way to turn the quantum network against itself. They're attacking the seeds, June said urgently, trying to corrupt the network from within. Ambassador Calera stepped forward, her biomechanical systems resonating with the ship. Then we show them the true power of unity. Rhodes understood. The architects hadn't just been preparing humanity. They had been preparing all of creation for this moment. Artemis, initiate the Transcendence Protocol. The AI's form expanded until it filled the chamber. Are you certain, Captain? Once begun, there's no returning to what we were. We stopped being what we were the moment we chose to protect rather than destroy, Rhodes replied. Execute the protocol. The Hyperion structure began to transform. Not just the ship, but every member of its crew felt their consciousness expanding, connecting with the quantum network in ways that transcended normal understanding. They became aware of every civilization they had guided, every species that had.